Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Indie Quest, celebration of the indie and obscure, your podcast for all things indie games and good vibes. I'm here with my 12-year-old son, Frantic. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. Oh, it's been a minute since we sat down. A couple of weeks here. 3 weeks? Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm doing good, though. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of things are going to happen in real life, but indie games keep on chugging along, so that's always something we could talk about.
I know. I'm in kind of like I'm feeling pressure right now in terms of games. It's a good pressure. Like it's a self-imposed and it's a fun pressure. But there's only, as of recording this, 28 days left in the year. We got basically a month. And in order for me to have the most accurate version of my game of the year list, I want to play the stuff that I want to play. But there's still so many indies that I haven't gotten around to checking out yet that I want to. Like Solar Ash just dropped. I got to check out Solar Ash. I want to check out Unsighted. I haven't checked out Unpacking.
Ooh, Unpacking's good. I like Unpacking. I've been playing a little bit of that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of earlier ones from this year. Like I think Toem came out this year. If I wasn't on the spot, there'd be like a list of 20 of them. So it's just, how am I going to fit all these good games in? How am I going to find time for all these good games?
You need one of those. Have you ever seen the movie Clockstoppers from Nickelodeon? It's a Nickelodeon original movie. Have you seen it?
No, but I'm upset with myself that I haven't. This sounds extremely my brand.
It is, exactly. That's why I asked you, because I figured it's a movie that you adore. It's like a classic. It's a classic Nickelodeon TV movie. It's like an hour and 15 minutes long, like a good TV movie length. And there's this clock, or this basically like a stopwatch, wristwatch thing that stops time. That's pretty much the main premise of the storyline. And the thing it does is it accelerates your molecules so you age faster. And so the main character ends up being old at the end of the movie and stuff. Fun times. But there's a lot of really fun pranks they do. They stop time. There's this guy vandalizing a wall. So they go and they cut his spray can so it sprays in his face. And then they see a bully harassing a guy on a bike, and they push the bullies over so the guy on the bike can get away and stuff like that by stopping time.
Okay.
Yep.
So the two thoughts on that. One, is this M. Night Shyamalan's old, but for 10-year-olds? Did M. Night Shyamalan copy Clockstoppers, the Nickelodeon original movie, to create old?
Yeah, I'm just going to say yes on that one. Mm-hmm.
And then
definitely.
You mentioned the spray can prank. That was when I was 8 years old, that was my go-to prank. Okay. So we have the kitchen sink has one of those hoses that you can extend out so you can spray, pots and pans and stuff down. It just has an extendable nozzle. And I would, as a kid, I'd get rubber bands and I would wrap the rubber bands tight around the handle so that the handle of that extendable nozzle was already squeezed. So then when my mom came to turn on the sink, wham, she'd get blasted with a big spray of water she wasn't expecting. I tell you, it never got old. It was good every time.
Yeah. How many times did she take away your Nintendo 64 for doing that?
None, but she did do it back to me several times, and I would never notice. I would be downstairs playing N64. She'd call me upstairs. She'd be like, "Can you get me a glass of water?" Which is the most obvious thing in the world. But I'd be like, "Oh, sure, yeah, I'm happy. I'm helping. I'm a helpful guy." And then wham, hydro.
Hey, at least she was a good sport about it and got you back. And it was kind of almost a game of cat and mouse there at that point, and it's not like a fight or something like that, a family feud, I guess.
This is what I had to do in the world before indie games, is I had to find my own entertainment.
So yeah, you need Clockstoppers. That's what just to bring it back to the original point. You need that little wristwatch to stop time, so you can you'll age 2 or 3 years in the process, but you can get through all the indie games that came out this year.
Sign me up. Sign me up. It's like if the devil popped up right now and offered to make a deal, I'd be real tempted to take it. We'll leave it at that.
There's a lot of games that I missed out on. I actually like in the middle of like a few of them, like Chicory is one I definitely want to finish. I know it's fantastic as far as I've played. It's just been a weird year for me. Like, not gonna lie, it's just been like in my life, I just haven't had time for video games. I've been trying to fit them in. It's just been so weird and crazy the whole year for me. So this last few weeks, hopefully I can fit a few in so that when we have our game of the year talk in a few weeks here, we can actually have like an actual talk and I'm not just like, I played like 4 games, you know?
Well, I mean, whatever you can play is what you can play. I've been a good counterbalance for you because I think, and I don't really know exactly why, I think this year I've finished more games than I ever have in any previous year. At least that I can remember since I've like generally been keeping track on Backloggery and stuff. Now, granted, I've been, you know, Indie Quest aside, I've also been playing a lot of retro stuff, so that's been eaten into it. But even indie games, I feel like I've played a ton, and I still have a ton more I want to play. It's just, it's the old adage, like you will literally never be able to play everything you want to. Like you could string games you're interested in, like end to end to end for the rest of your life, and you just would never hit the bottom. There's no way. There's too many.
Or you could be like me. I'm like doing life stuff. I'm applying for jobs just to be transparent. But at night last night, I couldn't sleep, right? So I was like sitting there. I was like, okay, there's like 4 indie games that I want to play. They're on a couple of them on my Xbox. One's on my PC. One's on my PS5. Almost said PS4. And I was like, you know what I want to play right now? Minecraft. The new update came out, so I play like 4 hours of Minecraft instead. So yeah, it happens.
I mean, that's a good. It's like comfort food, right? It's wrapping yourself up in a big video game comforter and just saying, "Hey, man, I'm gonna relax for a little while."
Yeah, they decided to. Okay, so just a tangent. They decided to do a Caves and Clips update to Minecraft. So they basically changed the world generation. So the caves are just the most cavey caves you've ever seen, I guess. So like, I don't know, they just really just revamped the entire way the world is like structured when you make a new world now. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to load up a game on my Xbox, which I never play console Minecraft. I'm always on the PC. So I was like, you know what? This is a new update, a new, way of looking at things. Let's try it on controller on the Xbox. So I was sitting on my couch, loaded up a world, and like 4.5 hours just like flew by me, just like exploring these giant caves, huge new mountains. They increased the world height, so like the mountains are like ginormous now. You can go to the top of, and there are billy goats that can get pissed at you and kick you off the mountains now. And it's just really funny and fun. It's a good time. So that game's always gonna grab me no matter what.
It blows my mind that there's anything left for them to add to it. like this game has been in constant and active development forever, and it's just like they keep finding new things to keep it fresh for people. It's wild.
Yeah, like now it's like they added. So this update came out in 2 parts. So they had like a part 1 that had like new blocks, like they had copper blocks and a bunch of new things, like a telescope you can use, or like I guess a spyglass more than a telescope, but anyway, now they have like this giant new world generation, and the next update they're adding like a new whole underground, like even deeper biome that has like these creepy mobs called the Wardens. They're kind of like horror bad guys. They like literally will come out from under the ground and like burrow up and try to attack you and stuff, and they're like 3 times the size of you, and they're kind of creepy. So they're adding like a little horror element to Minecraft coming up, and they're adding like new swamp biomes. They like keep adding more to this game. So I mean, they got infinite money, really, right? They got Microsoft money, so they're like, yeah, screw it, we'll just keep on going, why not,
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a different game than 2009, where it was like super like generic. You got one biome, you got one type of tree, got green grass, you got like super green grass, like cartoonishly green grass, and then like regular old caves and like 3 mobs that you have to worry about. Now it's like, no, you got like 52 mobs and like all these new things. So like It's just crazy. It's a good game. It's one of my favorite games for a reason. So
I mean, you were saying that you sat down, you plopped down, and 4.5 hours went by. That's always, honestly, I think that is one of my like all-time great simple pleasures in life. Is anytime you sit down to do any activity and you just get completely swept up and you lose track of time, and that moment when you like emerge from it and suddenly realize like, oh, the sun has gone down. Oh, I skipped dinner. Oh my gosh, it's 2 hours past when I normally go to bed. It's such a good feeling because it means you were just like so fully absorbed in something fun.
yeah, and it's just, and the thing is, Lana Rain, she did like the Celeste music and stuff.
Yeah, I was just listening
Is
to
that
the
the name?
Celeste soundtrack yesterday.
Yeah, Lana Rain. She added 17 or 18, something like that, new tracks to the game. So there's like this whole new like auditory level of like immersion now. Like when I'm going through the world, there's like all these new songs I've never heard before when you're playing. Super chill tracks. They're all like just really like Minecraft-y tracks, but they're brand new. I've never heard them. And I've been playing this game since, like I said, like 2008 or 2009, something like that. So hearing like new tracks as you're just like exploring the world was pretty awesome. Not gonna lie.
It's the simple pleasures in life, man. Sometimes you just need a little bit of a kick in the soundtrack to spark that love all over again.
Yeah, that familiar feel. I definitely, it's one of those games like I keep going back to. Obviously, there's definitely going to be an Indie Quest episode titled the Minecraft episode, like eventually, where I like profess my love for Minecraft for like 2 hours straight or something. But and then be like, hey, Steve, play Minecraft for the first time, please, so you can talk about it. That'll be an episode eventually. What's a game like that for you? Like that you can just like, it doesn't even have to be an indie game. Of course, kudos if it is an indie game, but that you can just like sit down and just like zone out to and lose hours to.
There's probably two that are kind of my go-tos. And it's funny because neither of them are like sandbox games. I don't play a lot of like really open-ended kind of can play forever type of games, builder, creative type ones. But the first one is definitely Super Meat Boy because I'm so intimately familiar with the levels. Like I know every single jump that I need to make. I know every single wall I need to launch off of. And I've gotten like pretty good at it. And so it's almost just like an execution of muscle memory thing. And I can, in a lot of ways, turn my brain off. And then as you get like into some of the really hard, like the later Dark Worlds and stuff that I'm less familiar with and can't beat that easily, things like short, difficult challenges tend to be like the best way for me to turn off my brain and like let my anxiety melt away and whatnot. Something where I'm like really focused on like trying to do something really, really tough over and over and over again. So like a Meat Boy level is perfect for that because it's 30 seconds long, but you just have to execute flawlessly. Or like a really difficult like expert or expert plus song in a rhythm game, like a Guitar Hero or a Rock Band or a Beat Saber, where it's just like all you're focused on is just this like really intense action for a minute or two, and then you're probably going to fail and you try again. Or you beat it, but you want to get a better score, so you try it again. That's like where I tend to enter into my phases of, whoa, where'd the time go? That's usually where it happens.
Right.
But my other like mega comfort game that I've played through a bunch of times is Flower. It's anytime I like am having a lot of stress or I'm like very high strung and I need something where it's like, I want to play something that just calms me down. I pretty much always go to Flower, and I don't need to like, I will play through the whole thing, but some of the later levels get a little more like anxiety provoking, but just doing a full playthrough or just the first like three worlds or something like that is so calming to me. Love that game.
Apropos of nothing, are you one of those people that got the FC on Through the Fire in the Flames? Get a full combo on that boy, that bad boy?
I never full comboed it. I 5-starred, but I never full comboed it.
Okay, me either. I did 5-star and never full comboed it. I always messed up on the second solo. There was always one spot I would mess up, and it pissed me off every time. Anyway, that's a blast from the past. Guitar Hero 3. It's probably one of the best rhythm games of all time. At least it's up there for me. So.
Oh, I fully agree. Responsible for a lot of people getting into rhythm games too, which is always a good thing.
Yeah. We need more rhythm games like that nowadays. Like, I know we get them occasionally, and then like Harmonix got bought by Epic now, so it's kind of like, we're gonna get any more? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, we got like, if you're looking for like with a peripheral at home rhythm games, your options are pretty limited. There's Fuser, but Fuser is kind of its own thing. Not really like a rhythm game in the traditional sense that you're thinking. You can get like Taiko no Tatsujin with the drums, but I'm not actually sure that the drums for the Switch and PS4 version came out in the US. You might have to import it if you're not from the States.
You do. Yeah, you do.
And so it's like,
I've looked into it.
it's a possibility, but it's not, it's not hopping down to Target and buying a drum set and a guitar and suddenly you have like a year's worth of entertainment.
Classic, amazing, one of the best rhythm games ever. Like, come on, like Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, man. You can't beat it. You got the bongos, you got your GameCube. Everything's good in the world.
Hey, I know I've said it on this podcast before, but I'll go to my grave saying it. My proudest moment in life is winning a Donkey Kong tournament.
Oh yeah, you told me that.
Yep.
No, Donkey Konga is the actual rhythm game. Jungle Beat is the platformer, right?
Jungle Beat's a platformer, yeah, which is also very good.
Yep. Okay. I was mixing them up in my head. I'm literally looking at my bongos up there. They're up in the weirdest spot possible. But anyway. So I guess this is Indie Quest. We're just rambling or just talking about whatever. It's been a little while. Like, we had Thanksgiving. I'm gonna be transparent. I canceled a record because of some stuff going on. So sorry guys. I know you guys are looking forward to episodes, but it is what it is. It happens. So like, any like, you said you had like a list of games or like games that you want to get to. Like, what is like the top of your mind right now for like games you want to get to before the end of the year?
I mean, literally top of mind is Solar Ash because it's downloading on my PS5 in the other room as we record this. So Solar Ash is definitely one that I want to play. The other game that I most want to play is Sable, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to because one, I'm not sure. When that game came out, it unfortunately had like some performance issues that seemed to be really tripping people up. And I'm not sure if they've patched through those yet. I'm sure that they will if they haven't, but I'm not sure if they have been. But even if they have, I only have, and it's on Game Pass right now. I only have a base Xbox One, like a launch model Xbox One. And so I'm not super sure or like incredibly optimistic that it's going to run great on that because most games don't. And this one already seems to be having some hiccups. But in a perfect world, I would have like a Series S or a Series X and I would play Sable. So those are like my two, I'd say, biggest like thought consuming games. But what about you? What are you really jazzed to get to?
I want to finish Chicory. I'm like, I know the game's not super long. I'm like 3 hours in, so I'm probably like halfway done with it, give or take.
3 hours
probably.
In? Well, it depends on how much stuff you try to find, but you're a good ways in. Do you know how many like dungeons you've done?
I don't remember. It's been like about a month since I played it. So I couldn't tell you, to be honest, but it's one of those I definitely want to wrap up. I really like the stuff I played so far from it. So it's probably just going to be like, hey, I need to commit an afternoon and just sit down and just like, all right, nothing else is going on. Let's just get through this. I think that's what I'll do for that one. One I've been like kind of looking at, two actually, Artful Escape. I want to play through that. I know it's short and it looks really nice. It looks like something I would enjoy. And then the other one is Wild at Heart. It's kind of like, we talked about it here a long time ago. It kind of has like a crafting system and stuff like that. I keep getting like emails about it and I keep seeing it on my timeline on Twitter and stuff. It's kind of one of those ones I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to like it, but I at least want to check it out. And then I think the other one is called like Elsewhere. It's kind of like the Undertale-like game that came out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I don't remember the name, but yes, I have seen something akin to that.
Everhood. That's the name of the one I'm thinking of.
Ah.
Yeah, Everhood. That's the one I'm looking at here, trying out. And speaking of rhythm games, it has rhythm elements to it. It's kind of like Undertale, like top-down RPG mechanics, but every time you do a boss battle, there's like a rhythm game that you have to play, and looks pretty cool. I'm interested in at least trying it, if not playing through it.
No, I've not. I've seen like some screenshots of that one, I think, and it does look pretty fun. But look at this. We're bringing different stuff. Any others that you're particularly jazzed about?
Not 100% sure. I think that's about it right now. I'm going to play through Unpacking. I think I'm going to finish that up. It's not a very long game. I'm not sure whether I feel 100% on that one right now. I do like the vibes. It's pretty chill, but I don't know if I love the game in general. Maybe I'll bring it as a game here and talk about it coming up, or maybe we'll talk about it on Game of the Year. But it's definitely a unique little chill game that's not super long, and I like the narrative. There's like a little narrative thrust through it, which I'm appreciating. But definitely want to wrap up those, and then I'm going to probably just go through the list and see if there's anyone I want to check out here and beat. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see if any of these show up at the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it's time, man. I think it's time to talk about our games that our picks, our indie picks for the episode here. Do you want to roll us into the first one?
Sure. You know what? We do like to talk about video games. I'll talk about one that I just completed not too long ago. It is a game that I've been looking forward to for a long time. It's called Demon Turf. This is developed by, and you can correct me if I pronounce this wrong, Fabraz?
I would say Fabris. In my head. I could be wrong. I did meet this guy, actually, the creator of this, Slime Song creator, at PAX South, like when he was like promoting Slime Song for the first time. Super nice guy. Like one of the nicest guys I've met on a convention ever, and he just seems like one of those creators that just like constantly wants to make games and stuff. Like he's super excited about his games. So I don't know. That's my impression of him. I only met him for maybe like 30 minutes at a convention one time, like years and years ago. But he definitely seems like a cool guy. I've been following him ever since I went to that convention. So yeah, I do like Slime Song as well. Have you played that game, the original?
I only played it for about like 30 minutes, and it was in Switch handheld mode. And I remember thinking that it felt like it wasn't really suited to handheld, and I wanted to play it on a big TV, and so I never went back to it because I always planned to pop it on the TV.
Yeah, it's very Super Meat Boy like influenced, but it also has like some VV elements to it and like inspiration. Like it just has that indie platformer inspiration all through it.
Yeah.
It was a really fantastic playthrough. That one, I'm surprised I actually haven't brought that to the show so far. But anyway, this is his like second game that he has multiple people, and he like teamed up with like Playtonic and stuff to make. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this game here, Demon Turf?
Yeah, so this is the first game published by Playtonic Friends, which is the, I guess, publishing arm of Playtonic Studios that did Yooka-Laylee. So pretty cool that I think this is the first time they're dipping their toes into that. But yeah, Demon Turf is a 3D platformer, and it's on basically everything. It kind of just launched on the entire world. It's on old and current gen PlayStations. It's on old and current gen Xbox. It's on Switch. It's on PC. It's everywhere. But this is very much a 3D collectathon platformer. So think, like a Mario 64 or something where you have worlds that you enter in and explore, and there's some other smaller collectibles that you can collect as you go through. And then there's kind of like one main collectible, the equivalent of a star at the end. It's a battery that you get when you beat the level. This is different from those other 3D platformers in that it's a little bit more linear in the level design. It's kind of like beginning to end. Not like so linear that it's like a Crash Bandicoot or anything. There's still some like direction and exploration that you can do, and that varies from level to level. Some are very open-ended and actually very akin to normal 3D platformer levels, but some are pretty like A to B, which it's just a different style, different preference for people. But the thing that we really should not bury the lead on, the thing that everybody recognizes this game for, is its art style. So it has an art style that I absolutely love, which is 2D character, 2D like sprite based character on top of 3D environments and 3D art. So the best like point of comparison I can draw is a Paper Mario, where your character, depending on the angle of the camera, kind of like shifts to show a different perspective of your character, but it's always a flat 2D image. And then, the environments that you're running around in and exploring are actual like full 3D environments. They don't have that same sort of like cel shaded flat look to them. So, I mean, you've been following this developer forever. I assume that you've been seeing these screenshots on Twitter for years now, right? And I'm pretty confident that you were excited for this one just like I was.
Yeah, I put about 2 or 3 hours in so far. I haven't beat it yet. I definitely appreciate the gameplay controls, and I love the art style. I agree with you. It's very cute and kind of like how Harley Quinn is kind of like in like DC Comics. She's like demented, but she's also kind of cute at the same time. I feel like it has that vibe a little bit. I guess that's why, I don't know, Harley Quinn of video games, I guess. I don't know, but Beebs, the main character, she kind of has like a little smirk all the time. And I don't know, I just think that it's super cute and adorable, plus having that kind of like underworld, like kind of like neon colors here and there. And I don't know, I just think it just has a really fun and like upbeat style, even though it's set in like the underworld and stuff. I just think it's really fun. So far, I'm enjoying the game. Like I said, I've only played a few hours, though.
Yeah, that's a good point. The design of the actual like play space is interesting because it is a lot of like neon colors. Every world is very like color saturated. They seem to choose like a primary color. Like the hub world is very purple and then purple adjacent. One of the first worlds you go to is kind of like a bay island theme, and that one's a little more blue focused, stuff like that. But as you go to these different worlds, every like spoke off of the main hub world has probably like 8 different levels that culminates in a boss fight. As you go through those initial 8 levels, your only real goal that you need to do is get to the end of the level, and when you get to the end of the level, you'll collect the battery. It's not like task based. It's always just find the end of the level, and that's when you'll get the battery. But there are hidden collectibles as you go through that you can hunt for and find. At first, when you are going through the level, each one has 3 hidden cakes, which is interesting, not really thematically relevant. They just decided to make it a delicious cake. And then after you beat a world, you beat the boss, very similar to Super Meat Boy that we mentioned earlier, it unlocks like a variation on all the levels that you just played, which functionally is just unlocking new levels. It uses some of the same assets, and it like sometimes is in the same spirit as the design of the original level, but just more difficult. But there's always these extra worlds that you can then unlock and go back to after you finish the boss of that area to get more batteries. And then the collectibles in those ones change from 3 hidden cakes in a level to like 50 hidden lollipops that you're hunting for and finding. So it has you poking at different like areas on the map and things like that. So it's pretty fun to explore. And the worlds are nice looking. They are big in a way that I don't know how to put words to. Like, I feel like this is a symptom of early 2000s shooters, where sometimes the environment in like a Max Payne style game was just like kind of like a big empty rectangle room, and they didn't have enough they couldn't fit enough props to fill it with without going over like an asset limit. It almost feels like that sometimes, where there's just like some big empty spaces for you to explore. But by and large, I think that the environment design is pretty good. But anyways, the actual mechanics of how you move around in this world they're very momentum based. It actually a little bit reminds me of Mario Odyssey. So you have a jump and a double jump, and then you have this kind of like glide flap move. I don't really know how to describe it, but you like sort of hover forward a little bit and you go into a bat form. But then depending on...
It's kind of... Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's kind of Banjo-Kazooie glide a little bit. That's what the vibes I get a little bit from that glide in this. Maybe not as far, but it's similar.
Yeah, very similar. And then depending on whether you've used your double jump or not, you can do certain button combinations to like long jump out of that or high jump out of it. So it feels very Mario Odyssey, where you'd jump, double jump, hop off of a wall, use that glide move, then long jump out of that glide move to like get a bunch of horizontal distance and barely make it to sometimes to places where it doesn't feel like you should be able to go. And it was pretty clear that that Fabras, however you want to pronounce it, that the developer of this game had that in mind as like a core tenet of the design, because every level also has like a time, like a par time for you to beat and try to get underneath it. I think before the game even came out, he posted up a demo and it had like speedrun challenges for the demo levels. So like speed and movement was obviously something he cared about. And then,
they had like a short demo that was like a speed run track, and people were kind of competing to like, get the best time on the level, on the demo. So the speed run thing is like a key component to the game, I think, because especially when you beat a stage, it actually tells you like how long it took you to beat it, and like I think that's like built in throughout the entire game is like how fast can you get through this, like 100% it, or just get from point A to point B, any percent it or whatever.
Yep. Yeah, and you have to know the levels to get those par times. Most levels I finished, I was 2 or 3 times over the actual par time, so they have some expectations of you. But then in addition to all that like momentum movement based like jumping mechanics and stuff, you do unlock, each world you play through unlocks a different ability for you. I'm trying to remember all of them off the top of my head, but you unlock like a long, slow, like glide descent move. You unlock like a chain grappling hook that'll let you hook to certain enemies and to certain ledges, and you unlock a couple other things too. And I wish that you unlocked them a little bit sooner, because the way it usually breaks down is you unlock one of those and you always unlock it at the boss fight of a world, which is very strange. You get the tool and then use it to fight the boss. And then that tool will be kind of like heavily used in the next set of levels that you go to. But they don't do a ton of mixing them up until the very later levels, because it takes so long to unlock them all. And I would love to see them do more, because some of the tools are pretty cool. But I don't know. Did you get far enough to unlock any of those?
I don't think so, to be honest. I only like play the very beginning of this game. I need to play more. It's definitely one I'm gonna enjoy. Like I like I think I had a mental block when I was playing this one. Have you ever played a game when you're just like, I know I like this, I think I'm gonna enjoy it if I put more time into it, but I'm just not feeling it right now? That's kind of how I was with this. Like I had one afternoon, I put like 2 or 3 hours in. I'm like, yeah, technically this has all the pieces of things that I love and enjoy. I'm just not feeling it right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The most recent example of that was Ghost of Tsushima for me. I set that one down because I was like, this is a great game, but I'm just not vibing on this specific game right now. But, I don't necessarily disagree with you. So for everything I've said, it is good in the hands. It is fun. But as I played through it, I did feel like there was something almost intangible, or maybe I'm just not smart enough to describe it, that separates this from like the greats of the 3D platforming genre. Something was missing. It was like a little bit too much jank, or just like a little bit off in some way. And some of it is that design I was talking about, where I feel like the levels are maybe too big for their own good. There's almost a lot of dead space in them from time to time. And other times, I don't know if it like the levels are just too long or too rigid. I don't know exactly what I wanted, but it was often just like a little bit shy of what I was really hoping for. And maybe I'm just, maybe I just put too many expectations on this game because it looked so awesome and I've been hyped for it for so long. It's sort of like death by pre-enthusiasm. But yeah, it didn't quite land in that way for me too. So don't feel too bad.
Well, I mean, not every game can be as good as Garfield Lasagna World Tour from PS2 era,
We're all chasing the Garfield Lasagna World Tour dreams.
I was trying to think of like the most obscure game possible. Anyway, yeah, definitely. So like you're kind of landing like pretty warm on the game, but maybe not like hot. It sounds like to me.
Yeah, it's one of those that I would never recommend this over some like really, really banging 3D platformers, but it was fun. It was very fun. And, all that said, it's a pretty long game. Took me somewhere between 15 and 20 hours to finish, which for a platformer, I feel like is really long. It's like you're starting to touch on RPG numbers there. But
Yeah.
I didn't even complete everything. I didn't get all the batteries. I didn't finish all the levels. I got almost none of the par times. And there's a bunch of extra side stuff I didn't do as well. So you'll certainly like have a lot of entertainment. There'll be a lot for you to do if you check it out. And like I said, really great visual style. I didn't really mention, but the music is very fitting. The whole game to me has kind of like a Splatoon-y or like maybe Jet Grind Radio vibe. And
I get it.
The music's very funky, very jazzy, that in a way that matches that. So all in all, I think a good, solid package and a game that I'm happy that I played.
The game has like a little bit of, what is it, like batitude or ratitude, everything has like kind of like smirking at the camera. It has that Sonic like tapping its toe if you don't start moving in 2 seconds attitude to it, I feel like this game. So we're going to ask the age-old Indie Quest question here. Where's this going to go on the quest log? And if you guys don't know what the quest log is, it's a thing where we separate games based on recommendations. So every game we bring here is a game we love and adore, but there are games that we recommend a little bit more that aren't quite as big of a bore, and if you play them, you're not gonna snore. Okay, I'll stop.
This is what happens when we just let him go. You just got to let him burn himself out. He'll tire out and he'll take a nap soon, people. You just got to power through it.
You got to power through it. Yep. So we got 2 sections to the main quest. We got the main quest. It's definitely not the pain quest. It's one of the best. God damn. Okay, I need to shut up sometimes. I need to just stop trying to rhyme everything. Okay. Need to take a second. The main quest is a game that we recommend highly. It's a game that you gotta like stop in traffic, pull over on the side of the road, download that instantly on your app, and then play it when you get home. Right now, just if you're on the way to work, you gotta like take a minute and jot this game down. It's the game you gotta check out right away. A side quest game is still a fantastic game that we recommend, but there are little caveats, and maybe throw it on your backlog when you just like you're kind of like feeling this type of game. There's little caveats you have. The like little thing that I like to say is like it's like Among Us. I brought Among Us. It's like, hey, this is a multiplayer game, but if you don't have like 5 friends to play, then maybe not play this game. It has a little caveat there, but it's still a game we recommend. So is this a main quest or a side quest game?
No, actually, I know what this is going to be. Before I reveal, although I think everyone could probably guess. We're really bad at mentioning this, but you can view the quest log by going to bit.ly/questlog. This is not a theoretical list. This is a real tangible list that we regularly update. So if you have forgotten what we talked about in the earlier episodes, or heaven forbid you are unwilling to listen to the earlier episodes, you're missing out. But you can see everything that we've ever discussed, and that gets updated as it goes live. And I'm sure is in the show notes as well. But when it comes to the matter of Demon Turf, I think there's an easy side quest game. It's fun to plop around and fun to move around in the world. It's got a little bit of jank. The level design isn't always up to the same line as some of its contemporaries, but just solid fun all around.
Yeah, I kind of seen it going that way, the way you were talking about it, saying, especially when you said you weren't like super blown away and you wouldn't recommend it as highly as other platformers. That's my first impression I got. Like, I hate talking about games that I haven't played like a lot of time into, but like my first impression was like, this was pretty good. I'll definitely go back to it, but I wasn't like, oh my god, blown away. But I definitely thought it was fun. I think it's worth people's time if they just want something fun with a cute attitude style. from my perspective.
Yeah, it's got spunk. And again, we live in a world where I will say in more recent times, we've been getting more 3D platformers, but we don't get as many 3D platformers as I'd like. And for one to come out at this scale and, generally at this level of quality, I think is awesome and worthy of your time. So this is the absolute quintessential side quest game where if you are out there and you're a 3D platformer fan, you'll probably get something out of this game and you'll probably want to check it out. But if you don't really know, you don't like 3D platformers that much, but you think the art style looks cool, this one probably isn't doing anything in the platforming to sell you over some other games that you've already tried. So, you know what? Give it a shot. See if it's something you'll enjoy. Fun game.
So, on the scale between 1 and Balan Wonderworld, where is this sitting?
Nothing can touch Balan, okay? Nothing can touch Balan. It's got wonder right in the name. So maybe like a 7. Yeah. Maybe like a 7.
A 7? Okay. It's all just a big balancing act. Okay. I've used that joke before. Hey. So, I guess it's my turn. I guess it's my turn, right? To talk about my game I brought here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I brought a game. Okay, I got a description here. This is how I shared it to you, so I'm going to share it to the audience the same way. I saw a tweet from Gary Whitta, huge famous guy who wrote Star Wars Rogue One. So I was like, this guy knows his video games. He wrote a Star Wars movie, so he obviously knows his video games, right? Anyway, he says, let this serve as your recommendation to check out XO1 on Xbox Game Pass. It's like Flower in outer space, a transcendent journey through alien landscapes employing a wonderfully original gravity-based flight mechanic, a gorgeously imaginative piece of ambient sci-fi. I saw that tweet. I saw some screenshots. I saw some other people talking about it. I was like, you know what? This is a short game. People were indicating that it was. I'm like, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to play through this thing. And I enjoyed my time with it. It's developed by a group of people called the Future Friends Games. And it's exactly what he describes. It's just, you kind of play like this. So there is an underlying story. It's kind of vague. They do have a storyline. It's kind of like told through little dialogue snippets that are kind of told in gibberish. It reminds me of like Simlish or something. They're like speaking a different language almost, but they have like English subtitles.
Yeah. I know you haven't played this, but it really reminded me of another game that came out this year, Jet the Far Shore. Very similar tone to the storytelling, if anybody's played that.
Did you like that game? I know it's a tangent, but I heard like mixed things about Jet the Far Shore.
We'll bring it to a show maybe sometime, but I also have mixed feelings on Jet the Far Shore. High highs, low lows. Okay.
High highs and low lows. I think this game, XO1, and it's EXO-ONE, if you guys are trying to look it up or anything. It's on Game Pass currently, and I think this game shines the most from the fact of how just drop dead beautiful it is, just visually to play. It's kind of like an interactive screensaver of alien landscapes, I guess. I guess that's the kind of way I would describe it a little bit. There are mechanics to it. You're going through the world as this like weird like flying ball. So you got the monkey ball vibes. If you hit the right trigger, you like initiate the gravity. So you'll go like super fast down, and then like you can fly upwards, and if you hit the left trigger, you kind of flatten your ball out to become like a little disc that can fly through the air that has like a couple double jump boosts that you can have. And throughout the game, various planets here, like almost every planet I think has like a little power up to increase your gravity pull and your flight. And so throughout the game, you get a little more powerful as you go through. You see various different alien landscapes, like you see like a lava planet, kind of like Mustafar from Star Wars. Here's another Star Wars reference. I guess I'm full of those today. And then we got like an interstellar like ocean planet, things like that. It kind of almost hits every single beat for like a alien planet you'd want, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I do think the narrative's pretty interesting. Like I said, it's kind of vague. There is a story there. You kind of have to like kind of pay attention to what the dialogue is saying to kind of piece it together. But ultimately, I did have a very good time with this game. And I know you played it. We already talked a little bit about it before the show. But what is like kind of your like opinion on it so far, or through your playthrough here?
This one really, It caught me by surprise. I really loved this game. So every different component piece, I think, is just done really well. I'll probably, echo some of the things you just said, but the environments are absolutely gorgeous. Like, this is a stunner of a game. And I should say, I played it on a base Xbox One, like a launch model Xbox One, and it was still stunning. So I cannot even imagine how good this game must look on like a Series X or one of the modern consoles. This is definitely going to be one of the games that I go back to and pop in when I get one of the new consoles as like a good point of comparison, because it ran smooth and usually ran pretty well on the original Xbox One. There was one or two worlds where it was not having the best time.
I'm not gonna lie, I had a crash on my One X. I did have a crash out on me on one of the planets. I guess very minor mechanical spoiler. There's a part where you're inside of a ball. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
In one of the worlds, it crashed there for me. The first time I went to that planet. That's not really a big spoiler or anything. There's not much to spoil in this game, to be honest. It's kind of a mechanically driven game, so.
Yeah, I mean, you could spoil the narrative, and I won't, because, like you said, it's told in bits and pieces, and it's vague. But I will say, for the simple story it was telling, when you like piece it together, I thought it was a pretty good narrative, and I was like, pleased with how it wrapped up, and it left me just kind of like thinking of the impact of the events and stuff. Like, it hit me more than I expected for a game like that. Typically, I would just think it would have kind of a throwaway story or no story at all, but it was wrapped in really well. And then mechanically, I mean, I was talking again earlier in the podcast about Flower being like kind of my go-to. A big reason that's true is that in Flower, you just get into this, I mean, what is
flow state?
What a stereotype, but yeah, you get into a flow state, and you just kind of like get used to the bends and turns, and it starts kind of happening naturally. Same thing happens in this game where you can get crazy speed and you can get crazy height, and you'll enter into this flow state of like shooting off these dunes. You'll fly hundreds of feet in the air, and you'll just kind of like naturally glide and line yourself up with another dune, and then you'll drop the gravity down and shoot down really fast and launch up the next one. And it's like,
and it starts to be really satisfying. It's
really satisfying.
It's like Crumble. That first two levels of Crumble that you really like, where the speed's like, but the whole entire game.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
You can get going so fast in this game too, which is awesome.
And dude, the music is incredible. I thought it was really well done. It's all ambient tracks. They're all like super chill vibe tracks. But there are times where you get like that uneasy feeling, and then the tracks that kick in there, they're just like have like super low bass tones and stuff like that, and they just make you feel even more uneasy. And they do play with the mechanics. They like, at some points they take some of the mechanics away. Some points they like, oh, you're on like a floating thing. You got to figure out what to do from this floating thing. I'm trying to be as vague as possible because I think it's kind of worth playing through. But the gravity mechanic is unique. I haven't played a game where you can just instantly like make yourself super heavy to increase your momentum. I thought that was a really creative and unique way to do it. And I don't know, just all in all, I think the package for this game, it's like 2 hours long, maybe 3 if you want to explore a little bit more and kind of be in the world. You probably could beat it in an hour if you know where to go. But it's definitely gives me Flower/Journey vibes, because it's kind of like they had a thought and they executed this thought and they did it really well. Great music, great like environments, and like awesome artistry, and a really interesting and kind of poignant story. I think this is a really solid package.
Yeah, I would agree. Flower and Journey mixed with almost like, I don't know, I keep going back to like a Tony Hawk or an SSX Tricky in terms of the just like satisfaction of like hitting a ramp and landing back on another ramp, or landing perfectly on the downhill slope in SSX or something like that. Just it's a game that after you beat it, you'll be super super fine to just go back in and just mess around in the levels. And there are like hidden collectibles on the different planets and stuff like that. And the levels vary, even though it's a very basic but very satisfying like movement system. They do a lot of variation between different worlds. Like you'll encounter different situations, and again, being as vague as possible, you'll use your limited verb set in a lot of different ways and in a lot of different contexts. So
yeah, it's a very screenshot heavy game for me. I was like taking lots of screenshots. I'm like, this is so pretty. I have to capture this.
Yeah, ridiculous. I don't know about you. I'm assuming this is true for you, but I ended up playing through the whole thing just in one sitting, which again is not that crazy. It's like a 3-hour game, but doing the whole thing in one sitting and loved it. And I had my partner, I had Leah next to me, and she loved the whole thing. She was getting really into the story, and again, she was loving just watching the movement was satisfying for her. So
yeah, it's like one of those things like, so it's like you start to learn the mechanics. So like if you hit the right trigger, you just get super heavy. So you want to like kind of have the incline going towards your destination. So the first thing I realized is like, if I keep holding this right trigger down, I'm just going to kind of like sit inside of this bowl. I'm not going to do anything. So I need to like figure out the best way to drop just perfectly onto this ramp. So SSX or Tony Hawk is a really good example because you want to get that vert ramp downward thrust to get the upward thrust. So basically you hit that ramp and then you hit that left trigger and you turn into the disc. You start just floating around and then you can actually do a dive as you're the disc, get a little bit more speed, things like that. And those collectibles are really fun. There's one stage where I was like, there's like a collectible that was like kind of up a little too high. And I was just like kind of trying to figure out the best way to ramp up to grab the collectible to get like, the increased boost speed and stuff. Yep. And that was like 10 minutes of just messing around, just, dicking around in the world, trying to figure out the best way to do it. And then I found it out and it was very satisfying. And I think there's a lot of little moments like that throughout the game.
Yeah. It just, it does a lot with a simple concept and relatively simple design.
Yeah. And I actually, just to be honest with you, I think this is like for me, I haven't played a ton of games this year, but this is definitely one of those hidden, like, kind of like a hidden gem to steal that from Metal Jesus. I got to pay him my royalties now, but yeah, it really is. It kind of is a indie hidden gem for the year. It's such a small and little game that just can easily fly under your radar, but if you're kind of into that, like if you're like into No Man's Sky, this is like a game for you. Like if you're into Journey, this is a game for you. If you're into Flower, if you're into like we're saying a flow state type of game where you like, it's more about the movement and like seeing, like if you're more about the movement, cool. If you're more about just like the vibes and the like this creepy ambient sci-fi like alien worlds, you definitely got to experience it because I just think they paint like a really cool picture of these really unique looking worlds.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the only thing that I would caution people on is just like we mentioned, if you're playing it on a base Xbox One, or I think it's on PC because it'd be on Game Pass Ultimate. If you're playing on like an older PC, certain planets can chug, and actually one of the like harder planets for me to get through is one of the earlier ones. So if you play it and in the first like world or two, you're noticing that sometimes it seems a little choppy. It might be worth pushing to get one or two more worlds further than that because for some reason it seemed like those later ones were a little more optimized, at least for the base Xbox. And yeah, I mean the better the hardware you have, I think the better experience you'll have because again, it's like it's gorgeous and there's sort of like, I can't imagine there's an upper limit on how good it can look depending on how well your PC can render distance and like fog and environment effects and things like that.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, it's a screensaver that you can play like so it's like a good example. So like the first world, you go down and then like there's a point where you like go escape the atmosphere, you're like above the clouds. There's just like so many like purples and pinks and reds and oranges and just like so many colors. And then like the main thing that you figure out as you're playing the first stage is that you're trying to get to like this beam in the distance. So you see that beam in the distance, but you're above everything. It's just like you're just kind of floating there, and it's just so beautiful. You just get so many moments like that where you just kind of get to take in everything. And I think they did just a really incredible job with the way the game looks, especially. I think it's a very the artists on here definitely did a really good job, I would say.
Yeah. Great environmental design.
Mm-hmm.
So let's round it out. Again, I think similar to Demon Turf, maybe you can take a temperature of the conversation and know going into this, but I got to ask you, my friend, is this a main quest or a side quest?
I would say it's a main quest. I almost say almost with a bullet. Like, I think it was really incredible. I think that if the ending wasn't as good as it was, I think the ending really did sell it for me, because I did have a couple times where the mechanics did, I wouldn't say stress me out, but frustrated me on occasion. Like, there's a couple times where I was like, I'm not really feeling the mechanics. But by the end of the game and like the resolution of the story and everything like that, what they're trying to say with the message of the story and everything like that, I do think that it all ultimately makes a really fantastic package that I think if anybody like is into any of these like experiential kind of like just kind of enjoying an environment. So I would say if you're into that game company style games, I would say that this is definitely a game for you, and it's definitely on my personal main quest. And it's on the IndieQuest main quest because that's our list. So I think that you would agree with me that it's a main quest game, don't you?
Yeah. If it was mine, I'd put it on the main quest too, for sure. Yeah. And that's actually a really good point you bring up. You know, we praise that it's so flow state. The movement is so core to the experience, but that same thing can occasionally work against it, right? Like if you're in a really good flow state and then suddenly like you hit an angle that you weren't expecting or you lose all your momentum, it can feel really jarring to like have to get your momentum back or kind of start from scratch. And there are a couple times here and there where maybe you don't feel like it was exactly your fault or like you went in a direction you weren't expecting. So
yeah,
just
it's not
a perfect
complaint.
experience, but it is on the whole, all things taken, it's good.
It's highly recommendable. I think that if any of the things that we talked about here, the initial tweet I talked about or anything we're talking about here sounds good to you, I'd say if you have Game Pass, definitely give it a shot. I'm sure it's very inexpensive if you don't have Game Pass, but it's definitely one of those ones that I think that if you just need something to kind of zone out to and just kind of enjoy, definitely check out XO1.
Yep. And my last bullet point, although we could drag this on forever, this is definitely the type of game where you should either put on headphones or like turn your sound bar up and focus entirely on the game. As weird as that sounds, not a good game to be playing while you have a podcast going or something, I don't think. I think it works best when you just sort of like really absorb yourself in the experience of it.
I do think I did talk a little bit about the music, that I loved it, but it's really very intentional depending on what you're doing in the scene. And I think, like you said, having that just kind of like let it wash over you as you're letting the experience wash over you is the best way to do it. But that's pretty much what I did. It was like I literally played this at like 1 a.m. I started at 1 a.m. and stopped at like 3:50 in the morning or something last night. So
yeah, I think I started it up at like 10 at night one night, and I basically cranked the soundbar up to about as loud as it can go comfortably without stuff starting to rattle, and then just like went all in on it. So loved it, man.
Yeah.
Loved it. Love IndieQuest.
Oh, I love you too, man. Oh, it's so good to hear that. Finally, I get that reciprocation when I'm sending you all these like, you know, pictures of like me with shirtless with little pasties on, and you never respond. I don't really get it, but hey, it is what it is.
I'm upset that
Finally
you're wearing
got
the
some-
pasties.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
Anyway,
I think that wraps us.
yeah, that wraps us for this episode. Want to do a little bit of plugs? How about you plug some cool stuff you're doing on the internet for people out there?
Oh, yeah, I can do that. If you want to come find me on the internet, well, the best spot to do it is probably Twitch, because that's the spot where I'm most interactive and can engage. So I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Most days around 7 Central Time, Thursdays a little later, but in the evenings on those days. And we do a whole big range of stuff. We play indie stuff like you hear me talk about here, and then we also play a whole bunch of other games because I am on other podcasts, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But the Twitch channel and the Twitter both are Blinkoom. That's BLINKOOM. Please come give it a follow. Come say hello. And Josh, I know I'm not the only one who can be plugging it up. So why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
Sure. At Frantic Society on Twitter, you can find all the things I'm doing. Usually shit posting on Twitter, which is pretty common. And then I have a YouTube channel that's all about food called Frantic Foods, which I started, but I have a lot of plans for. So be on the lookout for that. There's going to be more videos coming from there. Frantic Thoughts is the occasional podcast, which is kind of like a blog podcast that I do. And then Box Office Bliss, which is coming back with Back to the Future very soon. And should be pretty cool. I think you guys are going to enjoy that. But besides that, just follow my Twitter and you can see all the cool stuff I'm up to.
Heck yeah. And if you want to get a hold of both of us at the same time simultaneously, even though most of the time you're usually just getting a hold of Frantic, you can do so on Twitter for the show at IndieQuestPod. Or you can always write us an email at indiequestpod@gmail.com. We'd love to get them. We love to read them on air. We love to hear what indie games you're playing, answer any questions you have, stuff like that. Just makes for a good time. But did you know, kind listener, did you know that we're part of an incredible podcast network? It's called the Polymedia Network, and it's full of good shows, full of bangers, as the kids say. For example, Tales of the Lesser Medium, which is a show about video game narratives spun to be almost entirely uninformative, but always hilarious. They are currently dropping their season about the Gears of War storyline. Very good stuff.
So funny.
And I highly recommend you check it out. Highly recommend.
I was just listening to the Gears of War 2 one today. Oh my god, I was dying. Something about those two, Caleb and Trav together, just always gets me going. But yeah, definitely recommend that. There's also another show called, I think it's called Polykill or something like that. I'm pretty sure that you're involved with that one, so why don't you tell people about it?
Yeah, it's a little something. No, that's our podcast all about beating video games. So Trav and I go through stuff that's coming out, games that we're playing, games that we've finished recently, with a real focus on trying to finish the games that we play. And more than anything, we take the beats from the community and we share a selection of everything that everybody else is beating to kind of get everyone involved in a big community effort to play through our dang backlogs. So it's a good show too. You know, probably Trav's second funniest podcast, so I'd say come check it out.
Nice. I have two I want to tell you about here. I'm just going to throw them both out there. We got PD's Power Hour. PD is like super knowledgeable about alcohol. She brings a guest on. They try some type of alcohol that maybe they have tried before or maybe they haven't. But she always has the fun facts. She always has the little games. She always has a good time on there. And it's always a very entertaining listen. So check that out. And also, there's Drunk Friend. We got Ness Friend, a.k.a. Travis. And then we got SNES Drunk, a.k.a. Alex. And they sit down, bring on an awesome guest that has something cool going on in their life. They can either have a YouTube channel. They can be like a sprinter. They can play mariachi. You know, it could be anything. And they bring it on. They talk to this really cool person and have a really interesting and usually pretty funny interview. Sometimes just interesting. Usually, you know, they can't always be funny, but you know, you got SNES Drunk always doing his Metallica impression. What's the dude's name? I can't think of it right now, but both really good shows, so I recommend them both.
Yeah, both awesome. Great network. Definitely check out everything on the network. You can look it up at polymedianetwork.com. But sadly, that brings us to the closing of yet another Indie Quest. And as always, Josh, why don't you say goodbye to the folks out there? And why don't you do it without any rhymes?
I guess it's not time to rhyme at all.
You rhymed on me just now.
That wasn't even intentional. Okay. Yeah, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode of Indie Quest. We always appreciate you stopping by. Go find your pet. If you don't have a pet, go find a relative's pet. Just pet them and tell them that you love them because pets are family too. That's the message I have for you to close out the show today. Pets are family too. Give them a big old smooch from me. And thanks for listening. Have a good one.